Welcome. Thank you for joining CC 101 Productions in Hazelden, Harlow. You've arrived at the most recent entry in our designer podcast series, and this particular interview with longtime LA-based designer Liza Shtromberg is a special treat. Liza has been creating and sharing her award-winning jewelry designs for over 20 years, and Hazelden Harlow is thrilled to be offering her collections this season. Let's take a moment and share Liza's story with you.
And here we are with Liza Shtromberg, jewelry designer based in Los Feliz, California. We're actually in Liza's boutique here on Hillhurst Avenue. She's been so sweet to schedule some time to sit with us and let us pick her brain a little bit about how she started, her inspiration for her work, and where she's going with her career. Take a moment, if you would, and let our viewers and our shoppers know, how did you get started? Rumor has it that you began your career at a really young age. You had lots of inspiration from family. So go ahead and just kind of expound a little bit on how you got started.
So it's actually kind of a funny and unusual story. When I was a young child, we were living in Moscow during the Soviet regime. And during that time, it was forbidden for people to have their own businesses. So my father, who was a stone carver, actually had his workshop in our kitchen window. So I grew up really seeing my father being an artist on regular basis, and we had a collection of beautiful rough gemstones in our living room that I spent hours arranging and rearranging according to color. And I can really remember him teaching me how to polish amber with a little hand Dremel machine when I was 5 years old. And our house was always filled with beautiful cameos and books of Fabergé and just the finest things having to do with jewelry and real true craftsmanship.
You learned from your father, you were inspired from your father. When and at what time did everyone arrive in Los Angeles? How is it you became here being a designer in LA?
So the way the story goes is actually we first, being that we were Jews, we moved to Israel when I was 9 years old in '79. And there my father opened a gallery in the old city of Jaffa. And when I was a teenager, around 13, 14 years old, I started helping him in the gallery during summers and helping him with more construction of jewelry, and started really developing my own, also my own pieces that I did with Fimo, which I don't know if everybody's familiar with. It's very 80s. And then when I was 16 years old, my father had taken a decision to move us to Los Angeles. The funny thing is there was a jewelry store in Hollywood which was there since the 20s or 30s, and it was called Shtromberg Jewelers. And a really dear friend of my father's, his brother-in-law just purchased the store, and when my father came to visit his friend in Los Angeles, he was offered a partnership in the store, and he really felt like it was kismet. And therefore he promptly liquidated everything, his galleries and our home in Israel, and moved us to Los Angeles. Ironically, he was out of that store within about 6 months, but we ended up moving to Los Angeles and staying here, and we've been here for 20-some years.
Wow, that's so impressive. That is kismet. That's a really wonderful, piece to your story. So you have a wonderful reputation. You've been in business as a jewelry designer here in Los Angeles for quite some time. You do exquisite pieces, wire wrap, beautiful semi-precious and precious stonework, and I know that you do a great deal of bridal as well. What is your inspiration when you're working with brides? Because that happens to be what we're featuring on Hazelden Harlow with some of your beautiful bridal selections. Are you seeing brides wanting to do things that are a little bit more relaxed and casual, a little low budget? What are the expectations of brides when you're with them?
Actually, it's an interesting story. I feel that I really fell into the bridal category in a very organic way. I had a lot of existing clients who were getting married, and they would come to me to say, I just love your work, and I'm really non-traditional. I want something unique for my wedding. Can you help me? Can you design something for me? And so what we would do is we would work off of existing designs, and we would amend them and match them to the color of the clothing, and really personalize the piece for the brides. And I think it was a few years went by before I realized that it must be a category of people who are becoming more and more untraditional, looking for something unique. I think also brides are really not wanting something that's throwaway jewelry. I think they're recognizing that whatever is around their face is what they will be photographed with and will hold, in their memory for the rest of their life. And so I feel like they're feeling like it's a little more of worthwhile investment. And also, the way that I design my jewelry is I'm really committed to making non-throwaway jewelry. And pieces, I always encourage the brides to buy pieces that they can foresee themselves wearing thereafter, and things that are casual enough, on one hand, that they can get multiple use, but on the other hand are look nice enough where they feel like they want to hold on to them past the wedding. So that's how I kind of fell into this category, I feel, through my clients.
So knowing that brides have decided to go casual, but elegant with something that they can keep forever and wear on a regular basis in addition to a keepsake memorable day like their wedding day, what else are you noticing as far as trends with jewelry? You have a beautiful selection of work that you created here in your shop, but we know that the market is saturated with jewelry designers and with designers in general. What do you do, and as someone who is as seasoned as you are, someone that has been doing this with the history that you have, what is your motivation and your passion for keeping that customer returning time and again and again?
Well, I think what I think is really almost as an odd thing for me in the jewelry business is jewelry traditionally started as an item that was created to commemorate special occasions and special things in people's lives. And in some ways, when I look at the commercial jewelry industry, I don't even understand what is the purpose of its existence, because it really was always such a personal thing. And I feel that now people are really returning to that, to that original reason why jewelry was created to begin with, which is to commemorate special occasion, it's for it to be a personal item and something that's a family heirloom and is actually meaningful. And I think for me, what keeps me motivated and interested is the interaction with the client. My process is, when a client comes in, I really like to listen to them and find out what they're about, what is their value system, what is meaningful to them, and either point out an existing design that we can either modify according to their needs or create something from scratch. I think the exciting part for me is to work with individual clients in the interaction with them and getting to know them and creating something that is really meaningful in their lives.
Well, Lisa, I have to tell you, this has really been a treat to get the opportunity to be here with you in your shop and to hear the history of how you started and your industrious nature and your passion for what you do. I understand you have a daughter. Is she following in Mama's footsteps?
Well, it's funny that you should ask. My daughter is really creative, and luckily she also loves animals, and so her idea of as a mother, I have been extremely supportive of her artistic, and she's been, talents, and she's been going to art class since she was 4. But I'm very much all about the veterinarian plan. So, I put her in animal rescue and try to be honest, to keep her away from the arts as a livelihood, only because I feel that it's a bit of a challenging. I think it's a challenging way of life, and so therefore, as every mother who wants her children to have an easier life, I have to say that I am encouraging her to be artistic just for fun.
I have a feeling if your daughter becomes a veterinarian, there's probably going to be some bejeweled collars and tags hanging in that veterinary office just because of Mother's inspiration. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I know that our shoppers and all of our viewers are really looking forward to this interview, and we're honored to have your collection on Hazel and Harlow, and we'll have this up on our podcast very soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome, and it was such a pleasure doing it.
It's no wonder why this colorful, gifted designer has been so popular for so long here in this, one of LA's most historic neighborhoods. The history, the workmanship, and the nature of how Lisa approaches her jewelry design harkens to a time when fashion and Hollywood were synonymous with grace, elegance, and true style. That's it for this segment. Stay tuned for more from our continuing podcast series. Until then, cheers from CC 101 Productions and Hazel and Harlow.